Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's council meeting. If you haven't already, please silence your cell phones. City of Anamosa City Council agenda, regular session, Monday, March 9th, 2026, 6 p.m. Anamosa Library and Learning Center. 1.0 roll call.
Trump.
Here.
Kate Smith. Here. Shada.
Here.
Weiner.
Here.
Dan Smith.
Here.
Kurt.
Here. Note that all 6 council members are present in chambers. 2.0 pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Definitely have a few more attendees this evening than at a regular council meeting. So either everybody here is for one item or we got a lot of discussion ahead of us this evening on multiple items. I will ask that I will attempt, sometimes I am forgetful, to go for public comment after council has made a motion and had their discussion, which will all come prior to a vote. At that time, I ask that you come to the podium, state your name and your address of residence, and keep your comments professional, directed towards council and the elected officials, and not to the audience. And try to keep your points brief. I also ask that there not be any sidebar discussions, as this is a business meeting for council to conduct. 3.0 consent agenda review. There are 3 items listed. I have been requested by council and I will honor this. Item C will not be part of the consent. So if council is going to make the motion on consent, it's on items A and B only. We will visit item C after that. But there will be complete transparency and discussion on all the items. Item A, minutes from February 23rd, 2026, regular session. Item B, current bills.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Is that a consent motion on them too?
Yes.
The motion by Dan, second by Todd. Council discussion on items A and B. Public comment. Haley, would you conduct a roll vote?
Kate Smith.
Yes.
Shada.
Yes.
Weimer.
Yes.
Dan Smith.
Yes.
Kurt.
Yes.
Trump.
Yes.
Consent motion carries. Item C, noise street closure permit applications.
I wasn't on the council when they approved the downtown revitalization. But what I do know is we do not have enough parking downtown. And I am not going to be for any place that's going to take up more of our parking. And I realize that's a little bit farther down, but I don't know. I just like to have to take a look at that. And I know that I don't really have a solution to that problem. I know there's a lot of people that park in that parking lot. And I don't know if we have people that park in the other parking lots, but I know in that parking lot there are.
So when this was done or proposed, were other alternatives looked at?
Aaron, is Derek online by chance?
Yeah. Long enough.
Yeah, if you could, please. I can let Derek probably expound on that a little bit more, but I think it was identified as the most ideal location by himself and Martin Gardner Architecture.
Didn't they use it last time?
not the last time,
No, we skipped.
first time.
Yeah, so we're revisiting or going back to that parking lot. Last year, we used City Hall's, or just to the south of City Hall.
Can we do that again, Jeremiah?
I'm not opposed to, I guess either. They're both public parking lots, whichever works out most conveniently. Again, this was the recommendations that were brought to me.
Derek is unmuted. You should be able to answer your question for him.
Derek, are you with us?
I am.
Can you elaborate as to the reasoning behind the parking lot that was selected?
Sure. As you may recall, the three of you that were here from last time, so Rich, Kay, and the mayor, that we had the discussion about putting it at the City Hall lot because it was closer to the vast majority of the buildings that were being worked on. Just like the reason we did the lot that we're discussing tonight initially on the first phase, because it was closer to most of those buildings. The city councils at the time were worried about having a lot of heavy machinery like the lifts and stuff moving up and down the streets and putting more wear and tear on the streets. So I think it was Councilman Stout at the time that suggested for the last phase doing it next to City Hall because that was closer to the buildings. And the discussion happened, well, what about the third phase? Because it'll be more towards the eastern side of Main Street. And the council at the time said that would be the place to consider it for the next phase. So when we came in and we were talking with contractors, they said the closer to the area that they can use, the better. And that parking lot's more, either parking lot's fine. It was just because of some of the concerns that had been raised and because it was closer to the buildings for all of their materials and whatnot. So they weren't out on the city streets as long, blocking them, taking stuff, some of their materials and stuff down there. That's the reason that it was chosen again this time.
I would think the City Hall parking lot would be the better solution. I know this parking lot gets used a lot over here. Be less impactful on the public.
Would it be possible to use part of the Lutheran Church parking lot like they did for the sewer project?
We would have to give their permission.
Right.
We did for that project. And I think the purpose of this was to try to identify a public parking lot since it is a public project.
Well, and I get that, but part of that parking lot's not being used extensively, if at all, then maybe that might fit the bill.
I think a couple of things. Go ahead, Jay.
Share their parking.
I think what Councilman Hurt's getting at is that like with last year, they will use whatever portion of the parking lot that is available to them. So when they were able to use City Hall, they were able to expand their material throughout the parking lot. So pretty much the entire parking lot was used, minus a little bit to one side. Voss is a bit smaller, so they did take up pretty much the entire parking lot.
Well, I think a few things should be taken under advisement, at least for the consideration of selected lot. What's going to impact in essence, the downtown business? If there is one thing the city lacks, is public parking in close proximity to the downtown area. So I think that should be taken into consideration. Also, do we foresee any safety factors, whether it be flow of traffic or even pedestrian? And granted, it is a block off, but if it is a thoroughfare for kids to migrate, navigate through the downtown area, that is something that certainly should be taken into consideration. Is there a ideal location? Probably not. One thing with the Lutheran is we are not encompassing on any parking lot. But then again, if there is damage done, ruts that could be created, city's on the hook unless we negotiate that with, the contract.
I will say that the draft contract is the same as they've all been, that the city will provide space for them. So ultimately, the city would be responsible for it if it's something like ruts or anything like that, if it's not hard surfaced.
Understand?
I would want to know too, whether or not it's going to require us to pay some type of rental for the property that is not city property. Not saying I'm against it. I just would want to know what the financial impact would be to the city if we use private lot.
I agree with Richard. I think it should be looked into first. About using where the old lumber company was, that area up in there. Cause right now it's not set up as a parking lot. There's still, Jake Price still got equipment there and different things like that. But if that would be a possibility, I would rather see it there than take up good downtown parking space. But if they're going to charge us rent, then I guess we'd have to address that differently.
Well, the rent and our liability insurance might be two things that need to be looked at on that portion. But hopefully it really isn't much different than what we had for the sewer project.
You know, Lutheran Church has always been what I'll refer to as a very good partner to the community. The added insurance or the coverage there, that's going to be minimal. I got to believe when this is all said and done, but the best time to have that conversation is up front, not on the back end.
Only that Gary mentioned wear and tear on the streets and that we're moving the equipment from far away. So the closer we can get to their place, the better off we are.
So Derek, when do they expect to start this project and start assembling all the materials?
They're allowed to start April 1st. So if it moves back much further than your next meeting for a decision, that will delay the contract.
Okay.
You know, the application says it's going to be over a year plus.
I factored in some contingency just to be safe because you never know if another COVID or something might hit that did hit Tricon in the first one, that they went over a little bit just because of things we couldn't control. So I put it in for longer. Our hope is that it will be shorter.
Again, typically, I would ask council to make a motion, but if there's any public input, now would be a good time to mention.
I'm Matt Behrens, 1640 Street, work address 215 East Main Street, Anamosa. My bank would be affected greatly by this. That's where my employees park. It's also where Jeanette's Voss's employees park. And we're fortunate enough to have Rise next door, and they continue to hire more people. That is where they park. Today I walked over there, middle of the afternoon. 16 of the 23 people, or 16 to 23 spots were full. I first thought I had 3 people out today, and then I found out downstairs in data processing I had a couple more. I had 5 people out today that would have parked in that lot. So that would have about filled it up, and every day it's full. And so I just asked the council if there are other options in town that do not affect people that are coming into our city. Not every one of my employees lives in town, but I guarantee you they're buying gas and groceries on their way out of town. Let's just not make it hard for people to come and work in town. Provide them with some parking. I've got some safety concerns. If anybody knows, there's quite a few kids that live on that street, and they do come winging through there on scooters and bikes. And I know from the first time that the project was done, the way the contractors come swinging in and out of there's a lot of close calls. And so I think from a public safety aspect and just to keep some kids safe, and give them a way to kind of get through to go downtown and not go up and along sidewalks or close to the street. Because less than 6 months ago, we had an incident where a kid was hit at that intersection. I think it'd be nice just to keep the kids safe. And I think it would be very nice if the council can find a place in town to use for storage that does not impact so many people that come into our community for their employment.
Tom Durgan, downtown property owner. I brought that up last time, what Rich said, that the last phase of this to see if we could use the Luther's parking lot. The scope of the work, if I understand correctly, is on that end of town. And like Matt just said, that parking lot gets used a lot. The parking lot at City Hall gets used a lot. It'd be nice if we could check with them and see, because I think it'd be an ideal situation for everybody involved. Leaves our parking lots open because like you said, we suffer parking in downtown and anywhere. So I'd like to see someone check into that and see if we can't use that parking lot. And just, I don't know how long Chick-fil-A's down there for yet, or if they're gone, haven't been by there for a while, but I'd like to see them use that and take it up city parking lots. Thanks.
Jeremiah, you see, is there any reason that we could not table this and have the questions answered at the next council meeting or a decision?
No, I don't believe so. Looks like based off of Derek's timeline, we would have just a few days before the end of the month and have to make a decision. So we should have plenty of time to look into that and get back to you.
I'll make a motion to postpone this until the next meeting.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Brian.
Can I understand? But
You sure can.
couldn't we utilize the area down by the football field on the left-hand side where we put snow?
What are you gonna do during football season?
It's far enough away. I don't think it affected anything.
But the project's gonna last 1 year.
Right.
We're certainly involved in that. And next winter's snow removal again.
There's plenty of area down there.
I think it can be taken under advisement. I think there's other areas in closer proximity that we could utilize.
Well, what I see there is in regards to the construction company, that's twice as far as what they have to bring their material. Coming up that hill for starters isn't not a real good idea. We do have a school stop there if it continues during school time. And then they either got to go down First Street or go down Garnavillo to get to Main Street. And they were talking about having their equipment as close as possible to their work site as they could. So I don't think, yeah, it's a good spot. It's our land. Wouldn't really matter if something happened to it, but in regards to those guys, it's quite a long ways to transport equipment.
Anything else from council? Haley, can you take it for a roll vote with the motion on the floor?
Jada,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
Trump,
Yes.
Baseman,
Yes. Motion to table item C carries. 4.0 presentations. 4.1 Economic Development Assistance Program, Northlands Housing Development Project and TIP request.
I broke these up, Bryce and group here tonight. I don't really have a preference on how you present or in what order necessarily. I just kind of separated them for you. I figured that would be the easiest. Just to remind the council, both of these projects went through planning and zoning, went through council approval. Thank you. as far as the projects are concerned of getting all the project plans done. It's been a long time though, so I wanted to let them come and kind of present what the overall project is and kind of where we are from there. And then for the council's information as well as yours as well, I do have meetings tomorrow to hopefully speak with Spear Financial and Dorsey and Whitney to kind of try to finalize this best as possible.
So yeah, so Rice Rate Bus developer. Not sure where everybody's what the information you guys have had or where to start on this. So basically the first one is the Northlands out there be what we're spinning down off of the roundabout off of Old Dubuque Road and 31 lot housing development. Basically kind of you have to kind of, I don't want to waste your time and read a bunch if you guys have already, gone through a lot of this. So, kind of tell me what you guys want to know if there's are direct questions. What I do know for some general facts starting, we've been working out there a couple years, trying to, we got the grading done a couple years ago. We got the dental office out there. Basically looking to get this the first phase. I guess Rich and Kay are the only ones that were, Larry Broad would have been around when the old Dubuque project happened, and then kind of the futuristic of doing the connectivity down across the creek to Knoll Street and Adco, and this is the first part of that, or makes the first part of that. The Meadow Ridge development is full. The last two houses are being finished out there right now. So we're out of lots in Anamosa. So I think Dad has 3 yet on Chamber, but we had a really good momentum going out there in Meadow Ridge. We were seeing over a dozen permits a year, and this year we'll probably go down to depends if we can get done and get anything started this fall. So an effort to try to keep the, builders building, trying to push things here to get them moving.
Just, I guess, I've been pretty up on this, I like to think.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm going to ask you, what can the city do to help you get more housing?
So the thing we run into is, like always, all the states under the SUDIS, Iowa SUDIS specifications. It takes the same amount of money and effort to build a road in Anamosa as it does in Marion or Cedar Rapids. We have a lower margin of what we can sell for in Anamosa compared to Cedar Rapids. Therefore, the TIF assistance is a way that we can make the project feasible to do it in a smaller community. We've done the same in Mount Vernon and other communities, and here before, like with Meadow Ridge. The TIF, there's two TIFs, and if I'm rambling, just cut me off. But there's 2 basic ways to do the TIF. There's a TIF grant, there's a TIF rebate. TIF rebate it's a budget neutral thing. It's not going to have an effect on the city's budget, because if we have a TIF rebate agreement, once the homes get built, those taxes go in a rebate to the developer to pay for the infrastructure or help pay for part of the infrastructure of the development. And it works that way for, well, like in Meadow Ridge, we have a 3-phase development, and there's 3 10-year periods.
Right.
This one here, Maggie suggested doing a 15 or 16-year so that there wasn't phases, because it's easier for paperwork. That just has to get the sign off of the county and the school for that. And then it's just 1 phase. So it's simpler. But so basically that's how you get 10 years in a typical
phase of a housing addition to recuperate. You get that property tax value that goes back to the developer in a rebate. And then once the development agreement amount has been fulfilled, then that goes back to the standard city, county, school, all getting divided as normal.
So are you asking for money up front?
No. So I'm not asking for money up front. I did put an option. I laid it out two ways because if you want what's better financially for the city, the money up front has more of a positive. The city can do a TIF grant, which you do the TIF grant is a lesser amount and it's up front, where it takes me 7% to borrow the money and build this and carry it while the TIF's paying back over the years out that 10 plus years. The city can borrow at a bonded rate much, much reduced compared to what the private market can. So if the city bonds it, the city can have the TIF paid off and be collecting taxes about 3 years sooner than the developer. Now, the key to that with the city. So if we go back at the time, Pat Callahan, when he was doing stuff, Pat liked doing the grants because he knew he'd get money rolling into his budget sooner by doing that compared to the developer paying the interest. Meadow Ridge, the first one was done that way with a grant when Pat was here. And the other one we did with a grant. ADCO done with a grant years ago. And then I did the building where the law office is by Citizens Bank. When we did that, we did a TIF grant on that project. And basically when we did it, it was the guarantee to that was we had to have a building built within so much time that had assessed value over a set amount. So it was guaranteed to the city we would get the project done and built, or because it was tiered how we got it. But in typical one, if we don't make the designated goals, then we would be finding or paying back to the city. So it can be done without risk. It's just the city did get burned on TIF grants that they put out with the commercial park. The commercial park was built, and then there was two or three different TIF grants that went out to building the commercial park by the hotel. Yeah. And it sat empty, and that hit the levy. But there were no guarantees or anything to it. They were just open grants that went out as TIF, but they needed to be built on for the city to recuperate those TIF grants that were put out there. When there was no construction for 20 years out there, there was nothing to ever repay those TIF grants that they put out. So the TIF works, it's basically two ways. One way the developer's getting a larger amount in a rebate because overall the bank's getting a third of that in interest for that time. The other way is a lesser amount. The city bonds it and can have a lesser interest payment, but it takes less years to pay that back to the city. Right. Meadow Ridge was a TIF rebate. Mount Vernon's TIF rebate. That's the common one because it's non-offensive to anybody because it's a budget neutral, zero risk. Written right, budgeted right, the grant process of it depends on the city's comfort of risk. Like Northlands is going to be like Meadow Ridge. I'm pretty confident that I performed well and would adhere to that. That would be better for the city long term. The Cuba one, when we get to that, I think makes a lot of sense because that has a state workforce housing tax credit grant, and those 20 homes have to be built in 3 years for that to advice. So it's a risk point to the council. Either I carry standard interest and that gets, included in the numbers, or the city carries lower interest, gets tax dollars sooner. If that made any sense.
It does, it does. And I'm just gonna say one thing and then I'm not gonna say anything else on it. Whatever we have to do to get housing in this town is a plus. I mean, we're gonna just stay at a stagnant level unless we get housing. And these two places, the Cuba and the Northridge, is that what it is?
Northlands.
No, Northlands, right. They're the place where we get housing. I just support this and I think we need to do what we have to do to help this out. But that's my opinion.
I don't know, do you want to stay on this one, Jeremiah, before we ask questions on the other one, probably?
Yeah, it's,
Well, I would like to stay on point with the Northlands.
So if I'm looking at this right, your budgeted item list, you're got about what, 2.4 million
I believe so, yeah.
between, it looks like site prep, land acquisition, engineering, legal.
Yeah.
And Corps of Engineering.
Yeah.
Roughly 2.4. And based on below that sources of funds, TIF rebate 1.2.
Let me find the page here. Yeah, go ahead.
So the city would basically be paying you back for half of your total development cost.
Basically, yeah, half the infrastructure, because the land doesn't have a big cost to it.
Okay.
Land's probably a couple hundred in that.
And is that 1.2, is that the one that's over 12-year period?
That's the rebate. If I remember right. Kelly, were we 800?
820 for the tip.
820 if we worked out
the grant.
And I think that puts the city like 280,000 ahead in the long term. I mean, we have to perform.
Right.
But that doesn't bother me.
Wonder an upfront grant, how soon would the city have to come up with that money?
That would be, Spear and the city would have to work through the numbers. It would be something that we would look to do as getting the project accepted, but you got months. And I'm comfortable either way. So I presented both because I just work with the stuff a lot and I know the advantages of the one and I know the safety of public perception of the one. They're both good tools. They both work the same way. It's just, like I say, Pat was the one that he's the one that explained a lot of this back years ago, and I've just kept working with it.
As I understand the proposal for, I guess we're keeping both of them separate. So, okay, so the grant request for Northlands would be roughly $820,000. Is that right?
If it was the grant side, yeah. And I think like when we were talking to Maggie, I think Maggie's thought was risk adverse on the Northlands, and it would be she thought the risk was valid on the other since it had the other stuff with it. But that can all be written in the development how you guys are comfortable.
yeah, as Bryce alluded to, the TIF rebate side of things is clearly the most common and I guess you could say safest. from that standpoint. So we did talk about the grant side of things briefly, and there were some ideas thrown out. But the bulk of the conversation was surrounding the rebate process with the possibility of doing something different if everybody was comfortable with that.
Well, so if we were to consider the grant process, where would the money, where would the $820,000 come from? Out of our general budget or elsewhere?
No, we would likely have to go for GO bond on that, front the cost through that measure and repay ourselves, basically.
How would that affect other projects that we would be trying to fund?
I would have to check with Maggie. I'm pretty sure that it does count against our constitutional debt limit, but again, at $800,000, I mean, under $1 million, you know, given our current constitutional debt limit, I think is 19 million. We've got a ways to go. I don't mean that cavalier,
No,
just,
but we would
there's
be
some,
getting
there's some room.
the risk of kind of blending two things. The other project appears under the grant proposal, 400,000, so it'd be a 1.2 if we did a grant.
And what would the theoretical payback be on the grant?
That I don't know. But again, we didn't go down the repayment schedule or any ideal situation. I do know, like, well, it's already been pointed out, getting that developed and people into it would happen sooner. So, I mean, it would go on the tax roll sooner. But as far as repayment, I would have to check to see what the terms are.
Because I'd be curious to know that number.
You're gonna roll out probably about 10 to 13 years on the overall payback. That's why the number gets so much difference in the between the grant and the rebate, because where the city bond that GO bond and, you know, get in probably around a 2.5% area to 3. I'm at 7. So when you take out that, you know, you take out 800 over that long or 700, whatever you want to figure, then the interest on top of it, the city's just a third of the interest that'll be paid over that time. And that's where the city recuperates money sooner. Then it's up to the city how you can get it to that point. So this is where you can play with it. There's the developer portion, what we need, but at that point, the city can call that bond good at that point, and then it's paid and let everything go to regular tax rolls. Or the city can maximize that TIF and bring that money in to do on infrastructure projects within the TIF district that you set up out there and utilize the full funds of it. Like say, if you wanted at that time, Old Dubuque Road needs resurfaced in 10 years, might be a place where you could play with it. That's just some communities are using the tools for.
And if we would go the grant route, how does that affect the school and the city and the county?
It won't have a different, honestly, it'll pay it off faster. So it probably doesn't have a large effect on them.
Okay.
You could still write it out for the same amount of time, which I think we would. But the obviously there's not as much interest getting paid, so the payback on it is not as much. So it's going to pay down faster.
So they're going to get back into the system faster too.
Yep.
Okay.
So with Northlands, your projected price of the houses in that development at 375,000. Do we have any projections?
I'm low. That's an average, but
My question is, do we have any projections on families moving in that are going to be in that? We've got the bankers here as well that I don't know what interest rates are right now on my home loan, but we have projections on what we expect of people being interested in $375,000 houses in the next 3 to 5 years.
I think it stays pretty solid. Surprisingly, talking to people, I know got a couple builders that want to dig out there. We would look at pushing specs to make, the financial agreement that we needed between the builders and us to, hit the marks we need to. But there's people that I know Lonnie had a couple people that wanted to build on the cul-de-sac last year, but they went to other communities because there wasn't something here they wanted. The other thing we saw a lot out in the Meadow Ridge development is, it's not as much help. We're getting families in that helps the schools, but we're also getting a lot of retiree, boomer type people, whether they're coming off the farm or they're moving into town. And interest rates aren't having as much of an effect there. A lot of that's coming off of lifelong, farm family, or, it's time to come to town. So, I think the market's pretty solid. And when I'm doing my figuring, I'm figuring it out. Like the numbers I'm throwing out there and the timelines, I was looking at like a 5 to 6 year build out on 31. So I'm looking at 6 a year, 5 to 6 a year, which I think is pretty conservative, showing what we were able to do out at Meadow Ridge. So I think the 5 to 6 a year in there will be easy to sustain.
So Bryce, how many houses are you planning on building against?
There's 31 in this.
So Jeremiah, what's the next step?
Well, as I alluded to, we got, we're at a point now where we just got to finalize the agreement with our bond attorney and financial advisor, and I have to bring something back to the council for approval.
Right.
So that's kind of it. We need a direction for, where the council's kind of leaning, because we could go a lot of different directions or a few different directions. I just want to make sure we have all those details hammered out, because I'm going to try to get this moving. I don't want to make missteps and end up being back to here talking again and, make sure we do it right.
So would that be in a work session?
No,
Discussing?
no, that's where, again, I'm going to reach out to our bond attorney and say, this is where the council is kind of leaning, and this is what we would like to see, whether it's just a cookie cutter paste type agreement from Meadow Ridge or something different, the 15-year, like this. I wasn't aware of the 15-year until recently, but Maggie brought it up. And so that's kind of a different possibility.
You can go up to 20 with county and school approval.
Yeah.
The 20, it's by the time you calculate the interest out that far, it's,
yeah.
So it's to where it doesn't have a real value.
So again, there are a few different ways we could go with this. I want to make sure we're going in the right direction. It wouldn't make much sense for me to go to them tomorrow and say, this is what we're going to do, and then bring it back next council meeting and go, that's not what we want. So,
and Jeremiah had set that up. Was that in January we did that?
Yeah.
It was a very good meeting he set up with Maggie and Danos. He brought everyone to the table. We had a very progressive meeting and thanked him for that. It was kind of laid out some different stuff.
So would this be up for discussion at our next council meeting?
Yeah, ultimately, it will be, I hope it's at the next council meeting. That's the plan. But when I speak with them tomorrow, I will let them know kind of the direction and the terms that I want them to draft and get those to Bryce and his team. And then, just if he's good with it or has an inkling that he's good with it, I'll bring it to the next meeting to vote and proceed on. There will be a few extra steps. We got to do the urban renewal area for each one separately. So kind of like we just did just before the first of the year, where we established an urban renewal, which takes some time as well. So those are just cleanup things we would have to get done first, but.
Thank you.
With the second discussion we're about to have on Cuba, you're proposing 20 houses out there, right?
Yeah, I'll drop just a couple more general points on the Northlands while we're here. Like say this is the first part in that whole project of connecting that area. We've been working on ironing out details up there where Adco property joined Knoll Street up there on the northwest corner. We got everything concepted there. There will be 2 to 3 phases more back there. Naturally, this has to get built out first, but depending on the pace, I think in 4 to 5 years, we'll probably be looking at looking to cross the creek area. So it's just something I know when we talked about Old Dubuque Road years ago, like we said, between development agreements and working with stuff in the homes, I'd be able to take care of the subdivision part of it, and that's roadway through TIF agreements. We would need city help to get the box culvert across the creek part of it. Just something to think budget wise coming up for that connectivity, in that 4 or 5 years. And that should be able to be used some DOT funds and stuff since it's going to be a connectivity, but something to have your engineer aware of for different programs that are looking out. We did already pay the Corps for the fees to get across there. It was $240,000 in fees to put a culvert across the creek. That's where that came from. Was not aware it was going to be that much, especially when I decided I'd just throw a culvert in and cross it temporarily. So we had to pay the fees up front.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So theoretically, that culvert could be half this development, half the Adco development.
We're gonna stay probably about 200 feet from the creek with the end of this street. And then once we cross over, that's when that culvert will need to be put in.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of a depending. We have a little bit of work to do up there along Brimwood Woods Park up there. We got to swap angles up there. And then I know that cul-de-sac going up the hill gets a lot of attention just because it's got some beautiful sights. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. It's got a lot of attention. So I think we'll all be impressed with what we see out there over the next 10 years.
The reason I brought up the other project is that you're proposing 20 new homes out there. So are we going to have stuff going on in both developments? So what are we looking at? 6 houses in Cuba as well? Or
Cuba is going to probably run. So Cuba will have to be done. All the houses built and the project done 3 years from July. So that is the timeline that has to follow. We applied last year for a workforce housing tax credit, which we had everything. We had a glitch in our paperwork, and it got denied. And then, but I actually got a personal call from the guy in Des Moines who's running the program, and he said, "We love your project. This technicality is not something we can't just overlook technicalities in it." But he goes, "I really hope you reapply. Anamosa needs the housing." He goes, "We don't get projects in small towns like this." And he goes, "We're excited to run with it."
Good.
So part of that project is, we're a lot shorter street. We're smaller lots there. We're basically going to be building about it's going to be between probably 1,150 and 1,300 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. They're going to be smaller homes, but for the workforce housing tax credit grant, we have to have a finished project with a cost of, I think it's under 330, 320, 330. Our goal is to get under 300 with the new homes in that area. That's why the size is smaller, the homes are smaller, and we're trying to get good start homes. The workforce housing tax credit gives us 30,000 towards each home to bring that price down. So that's why we're pretty comfortable. We'll be able to get them done under 300. So given some good opportunity for some more affordable housing. So it will be two different products. But it's a good fit for that area. I think it's going to be great for the school there. But that's how that project's working. And then there's another part to that project, but like questions go through first.
So those houses are going to be more of the low to moderate?
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking at?
Not necessarily called that, but they're going to be under 300 per price point.
Okay.
So I don't know if I guess that is called low to moderate, but it's still a hefty price tag, you know?
Yeah, but anymore, it's kind of pushing that.
So the LMI part of that I was talking about, I don't know if I proposed it yet or was something we'd talk about after the tip. The second part to that is working with ECOG on a down payment assistance program. We did 10 or 12 houses in Benton. We did with the city up there when we did a development up there. And so what they did, and that was before prices went out of whack, but the city put down 20,000 and ECOG chipped in 20,000 and gave them $40,000 down payment assistance towards that house. The family that bought the house had to be at 80% of the median income for the county and had to be able to qualify for a conventional bank loan. Thus it worked out that covered the 20% down so they qualify and have the down payment for a conventional bank loan with a local bank. And the local banks were encouraged to work with that program with ECOG, and ECOG worked with them for setting it up. The way they did it is they were confident in the development that they were going to get it built, and the LMI money would come back off the development. So they bonded against the development and borrowed, deal bond on that, and borrowed 200,000 so that they could do the first 10 houses. Then they did a second program for the last few. So and that's how they came up with their match. Then the state looks at that and says, okay, the city's going to do this. We're going to do this with it. That program is pretty underutilized right now, according to ECOG, because pricing has gone up enough. But they are excited for an option of some place that it could work again. Because now we're probably looking at it'd take 55 to 60 to get in the same point. But they said they would be up for working that program again. And what it did is it helped families that would never have a chance in that low to medium income to have that chance at the new home out there. And it gives them a chance to build equity. They have to stay there 5 years or else it's a loan and they have to pay it back. So they have to come in, buy the home, have it 5 years, and then it's forgiven. So it's a really good program. It's also a good way for the city to use the LMI money that the city gets out of TIF development to utilize it to put citizens in homes that can be on the tax roll that eventually are paying back and fill in the circle. I didn't do a budget on this for what the LMI will be, but the LMI off of the 20 homes, but I can tell you right now, the one that will bring, so Meadow Ridge is pretty close to, well, it'll take another 2 years for its maximum TIF rebate to be kicked in because we saw 3 houses being built this year, so they won't hit the full tax roll for a couple years yet. But coming out of this spring's rebate payment, there is about 70,000 that the city will put in their LMI fund off of the Meadow Ridge development this year. That has to be used for LMI projects. So, that project, the next 5, 6, 7 years will probably generate, $300,000-400,000 in LMI. I think, I mean, that's going off the application and the breakdown for what this year was. One phase was 40 and the other phase was about 30. And that's the LMI funds that one will produce. Then it's really a budget thing between Maggie, Jeremiah and stuff. If they utilize those type of funds over the next 3 years to help with a few of those programs, if we do that, or if they look at borrowing against the other and use those LMI funds somewhere else. But anytime you do any of these residential TIFs, there's a usable amount of the tax dollars. It basically breaks up 63-37. 63% of the taxes paid off each house can be used for the TIF. 37% of the taxes have to go into an LMI fund to be used for LMI assisted projects. And I don't know if there is a list or if there's other projects the city has going LMI wise right now or what the city's brought in, but I know Meadow Ridge is to the point it's full and it'll be chipping in a big amount. And it's an example of what these others will do. So there will be LMI funds to be used. It's just an advantageous way to use them, match with the state, and you can you're investing that money back in the community and tax roll. That's a second step to the tip, but that's the long plan. If we could get 5 or 6 of those houses to work with ECOG and get some people in there that otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity. It was a really cool program.
Okay.
And that one brought young families.
So I guess Jeremiah, with regard to the Northlands project, I think Bryce had mentioned that maybe Spear had some, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but there were risk averse is something that you had said about Northlands if we did the grant versus the rebate.
Maggie's said her professional opinion was that she would always suggest the rebate because it's risk adverse. That's where the city would have to weigh their comfort with an agreement and a performance agreement of how things would work. And
I guess from my perspective, I'd just like to have a little bit more information from Spear to tell us why that, where their concerns would be with that versus the grant side of it at the next meeting, because while I understand it's budget neutral, except for the part about when the tax revenues start to accrue for the city. And so I would like to be able to kind of compare what they are concerned about or what their thoughts of concern are if we went the rebate route versus the grant.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of information that Spear could provide, especially timelines of if we go grant, what's the total price going to be? What's the total? When are we getting the full paybacks? As opposed to going out 12 years or 15 years, whatever they're recommending, and why they would recommend this direction.
And I would agree. We've got our schools, all of them now are like state of the art. We've got a lot of encouraging things going on with those. I do want to get more people in here. So I think these are worthwhile projects, but I do want to make sure that we're doing at least our due diligence with when we're going to start to see the revenue coming into the city.
And with that, Jeremiah, if you need with us, we do I mean, I shouldn't be saying this, but we do need to have an agreement structured. Because I'm comfortable with what I'm gonna do, so it doesn't bother me. But I wouldn't want it to set a precedence that there isn't a structured agreement and someone else come in and the city get in another bad way with it. So there should be, when Maggie's figuring out like what the different ways would be, there should be a, you know, this much gets built by here, here, here. So it's just that's just good protocol on that type of program. That's what hurt city in the past. So
But I think it ought to be on both projects, the information that they.
Like the most recent Meadow Ridge project, which, refresh my memory, which route did that go? Did that go with?
that was a rebate. The first one was the grant. And I think part of it was Pat was gone on the second one. I forget who was here at the time we did that agreement. Administrator wise, but I know it was risk averse. The other thing was at that point in time, the way the city's debt capacity was rated was quite a bit different than it is now. And so it actually, the few $100,000 made a big impact with like the wastewater plant and stuff at the time and different projects. So I know there was the risk averse side, but there was also the state really opened up that debt capacity side in the cities the last few years or more recent than that even. But that's where it changes some of the true effect that it has on the city compared to what it did 10 years ago or so when we did that one. That wasn't that long ago, but close, yeah. But that was a big thing with that too. One, it was the risk averse side. Pat wasn't here, who was the master of the numbers, but the debt capacities were a lot different.
It worked.
It worked.
So what's your timing on these two projects?
So the Northlands, I'd like to have it paved and wrapped up here by midsummer. So that people could, I think we'll see basements dug yet this fall out there. The Cuba like to be a point where we could dig basements by the end of the year and get the first 3 or 5 houses started in there. And then that one will have probably have another 10 next year, and then the last 5 finishing out into the next year. I think we're gonna be able to put together some affordable housing in the upper 200s there, barring any economic catastrophe. We've really got a pretty fluid plan with that, keeping things. I mean, it's tight. The lots are tighter. Everything's a little tighter, but it's what we got to do to make things work, and it's right across from the school, so it's going to be great for young families. And I say if we can utilize the EC cog program and some LMI to help some a few first time, or not first time, but down payment assistance on some LMI qualified, I mean, be a pretty impressive project. The other thing all that does is it shines a really good light on the city as well to have that much programs utilized. The state wants to see that stuff utilized. So if you can utilize the programs for what they're accomplishing, it just looks good when the next project or next anything's going on. It's just like Derek with the downtown projects. It puts a good light because people see the state programs being utilized, and it's just a positive all the way around when you see those programs utilized and working.
lot of information to absorb. A lot of moving parts.
Like I said, Jeremiah did a really nice job with having Spear and us involved in that conversation here. And as he pointed out, he's got another one with him, but they're Maggie Sharp.
I guess I'll ask the same question others have already asked Jeremiah. Because I don't know if you've got your answers. What information do you need to take into tomorrow's meeting to advance these projects?
I guess I just need to determine or discern some level of comfort from the council. We discussed the phase-in option, which was like the Meadow Ridge, which I think is what Bryce kind of initially approached us with, because at least for Northlands, that's similar. And then that's when it gravitated towards the possibility of extending this out to the 15-year period. Pros and cons to both, of course, and I'm going to figure out tomorrow what exactly they need from us to get to them so they can go to the county and the school with that. I guess, first of all, though, I just need to make sure that we are okay with that structure of an agreement. If we're wanting to lead more towards a phased in approach, or if we're good with a 15-year, just one single agreement. I think that's first and foremost. And then if there's any details in between that you just are really leaning for or against, so I can relay that. Again, we can have them drafted a few different ways, but I just want to make sure everybody's good with whatever I get hammered out tomorrow and then bring back to council at the next meeting.
So Bryce, the Meadow Ridge was 3 phases.
It was 3 phases.
So what time period did that cover?
About 6-7 years from first phase to last phase. So basically you get it, you can set it up because you get it 10-year is how residential is structured. So by doing 3 phases, you get 3 10-year periods where you say these 10 houses are done. This qualifies and we record it as phase 1. And then that 10-year period has started on those 10 lots.
Right.
And then 3 years later, once you've got another stock built, is the way to control, it's a way to start trying to control the interest and balancing it out. Because if you start it all at the beginning, you won't have enough time in 10 years to have it all built and get things paid back the way it needs to be. But if you wait 6 years to start it, you've accumulated that much more interest. So when Maggie said it, Maggie's like, well, the city wouldn't have to deal with the phasing and keeping 3 different time periods.
Right.
If school and county, because then you would just start it immediately and each year more would just roll on.
So the 15-year proposal would, it's just changing the time period in which the payback.
The 15-year is really no different than the 3 phase.
Okay.
There's absolutely no financial difference to it. The 3 phase 10-year is going to reach out for that 15-16 years too.
Okay.
It's just the way it does it. It keeps it in 10-year allotments, which is where the basis of the program sets from.
Okay, thank you.
So what you're saying then is at the end of 10 years, that first 10 years, some of that TIF money would be flowing back into the city, school, county.
Yep. So,
and then a little bit more would still be going to the TIF and so forth. Then after that, whatever period, if it say it started at year 2, after 12, that would come back and then you just have your 3rd phase.
Yep.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So like on Meadow Ridge right now, I think Meadow Ridge, we pretty well have into 2 phases that we used. One of them had 2 or 3 payments and then one of them's on its first. So one of them, the first half of the houses will be done in 8. The other half will be done in 10, as far as what they're able to pay back. The other one just lets it all roll as one as it goes through until it gets to the number to be paid back.
It would
It's,
seem, sorry.
oh, go ahead, no.
No, I was thinking, it seemed to me that the 15-year one period versus having to keep track of 3 separate phases would be at least easier from a bookkeeping standpoint.
That's where Maggie was at.
I don't know how it is for them, but I would concur with that on our.
Oh,
end.
we would concur with it too, because I mean, we got to go through and fill it all out every year and it's
Yeah.
doing it in pieces, but it's how it works. And I don't really have that many concerns. For one, I talk to Darren a lot and he's aware of it. So there's nothing in the school side. And when we talked about this, when Old Dubuque Road went in, we talked about utilizing the 15 and 20-year residential with the county and the school back then. That would be a tool that we could use in the development to help with some of the costs. This, we're not using it to get more money. We're just using it to make it easier paperwork. But they were both in agreement when the Old Dubuque Road project was happening that, yeah, it's just a good program. So I don't have a lot of concern with any of that there would be an issue. Unless Darren comes up here and tells you I'm all full of it, which he might do.
If the same construction schedule or, a similar construction schedule is used, then practically speaking, it looks the same as what Meadow Ridge was. The difference really is that triggering, if for some reason, I guess there was a shift in development, Bryce could have held off for a period. There was a little leeway given, so I think it was almost a 20-year total.
Yeah.
To the end, so he could have, postponed a year or two if he wanted to and still get the 10 years of each agreement in. But it was pretty much, there's a couple of years in the front, just preparation stuff, but then it was first phase was built out, then the second phase, then the third phase, and they're all, come and do almost year after year.
Because even in the city side of it, when you're looking at, like, if we do look at, the city does look at like the TIF grant instead, the city won't start their period probably for 3-4 years because they want to get it. They want that time period to get maximized to what they can pull out of it. And the first 3-4 years won't have much because, it takes a couple years to get the house on the roll once it's built, and it's getting built the first year. So that was always Pat's thing is, he goes, you need to get the thing rolling before you start the time because there's no point in burning the time off the front. So.
Thanks, Bryce. Council, take a few minutes to ponder, try to gather some of your thoughts so you can give Jeremiah a little bit more direction. This statement I could possibly get ridiculed over if it's taken out of context of what I'm trying to say. What the city has to lean on is residential. I'm not trying to sell us short that we can't hook industry or large commercial. The low hanging fruit is residential. That is one way that we can impact the city, increase the tax base for the city, the school, and the town. We have in front of us an individual company that is willing to take the risk and help us along the way here. Bryce, I think you got an aggressive timeline, but I won't sell you short. You'll prove me wrong. It just seems you're getting to the end long before most people, developers would. I can appreciate that. We need to strike while the iron's hot. You've got a Meadow Ridge that is, in a sense, for the most part, closed down. Everything's sold. New houses yet to be built. And it's not on Bryce. Those are sold to the private sector.
Well, there's close to 50 units that have been added out there between Country Club side and the Meadow Ridge side. in the last 7, 8 years.
We have the dirt within the city to build additional residential houses. Will it cost the city money up front? Yes, and it should. Because if you don't invest in yourself, how the heck could you ask somebody to invest in you? And I did not develop or come up with that phrase. Some wise gentleman told that to me. So with this, the only way we will see the type of growth that the city wants, and certainly the school is in need of, is what Bryce has laid out in front of us to see. There's risk with everything. But I certainly think the way Bryce, Jeremiah, and Spear will put all this together, the risk is mitigated. I would like to go to the public's opinion. I see some prominent individuals who will be players in this.
Do you guys
as
have
far
any
as the
questions
banks,
for me or?
I probably will be.
Oh, you're all good. But once again, I think I said it, but I said, I was really appreciative. Jeremiah did a nice job setting up with Spear and Danos. We got through a lot of stuff that we were wanting to for a long time, and it was just a clean, good use of time, and yeah, and getting us here, putting it together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public opinion?
Matt McQuillan, 18936 Shooting Star Road. I'm stakeholder here, a longtime community member, currently the school board president. You don't need to hear me talk about TIF or bonds or all that stuff. It just boils down to we have a declining enrollment in Anamosa. We need students. We can't just go out and grab them by open enrollment. I'm now an empty nester. I was sitting here thinking Aaron Zumbaugh's an empty nester. Matt Barron's is soon to be an empty nester. We aren't going to move from our homes. If we're going to attract more students, we need more homes, and that's where it really is going to help us. And so this is a great opportunity. The state of Iowa has a lot of tools, including the workforce housing tax credit. TIF's been around for a long time. Anamosa has used it really well in the past. Happy to hear that Jeremiah is going to be meeting with bond counsel and financial counsel tomorrow so that we can keep this moving along. And I really want to just thank Bryce and the Forge team for helping us out in the community. I think it was in 2023, we were sitting out at the ribbon cutting for Old Dubuque Road extension. And we looked at this property and identified, wow, look at that's where the growth is going to happen. It's 3 years, so it's time to roll with this. So thank you for your effort on that.
Thank you.
Very 28 Brook Street, Anamosa, school superintendent. I can't tell you how excited I am about the conversation I just heard. It hits more virtuous. We're talking about this. In preparation for listening to this discussion, I went back and really looked over our enrollment trends. And we see a decrease in resident students going to our district. It's contributing to families not being here, but some of it is. It's try to work on the most. But that question has come up. Students are as important to us as the tax rate. But we can discuss, well, we're going to offset with TIF and do some things. Those students in our schools start generating money on day one. We're a year behind on payment, but they start generating money for us on day one. right now I'm looking at numbers that would say since 2011, we're down about 139 resident students in our district, that attend our district. Just since 2020, we're down 106. Okay, and in some of this, I think you start to put the pieces together, right? We talked about who was moving into some of the homes. It was people coming in from the farm. They're not bringing kids, they're not it. So the COVID development for us is really cool. It's right across from middle school. It's a great place for a family to get started. Having to be 3 bedrooms, I don't know what you did. I grew up in 2 bedrooms, one for mom and dad and one for the rest of us. Okay, so it's a good thing. I think it draws the right kind of people, plus the other division, the other subdivision, we get into a different crowd. So having a 2-point attack is really good. You're not putting all our eggs in one basket, right? We're going after different kinds of people at different places in their life. Those students are about $8,000 a pop for a school district. So it adds up in a hurry. If you look at what's going around you with school districts, our board has been extremely good with our finances. We're in a better position, but we will end up where you see school districts around us, how much they're cutting. We're going to end up there if we don't work on the enrollment side. So I'm just excited, whatever we can do from a school standpoint to support those efforts, we are 100% in. And I have other board members that can speak if they want, but from our standpoint, we are 100% in to try and help get this done. Thank you.
Anybody from the financial side?
Well, you go ahead, Matt. One's enough.
I'll get in before he wants to talk for a while. Matt Burns, I just want to tell everyone, thank you for listening to Bryce. From my perspective, he just put on a platter 2 great needs that this community needs. And as Darren talked with the enrollment numbers, my daughter and her husband recently tried to buy a house, and it was almost impossible. They ended up going to Martell, still be in the school district, but they had to have their starter home Martell. They would much rather been in Anamosa. And I think one thing was a little too earlier that some of those houses, they are going to be not the Kuba, but the other one. They're kind of an expensive house. For every retired person that wants a 0 entry brand new house out there, that's just shaking their house for someone like my daughter and son-in-law to purchase and be in town. So I think there's a rippling effect, but also just getting positive things moving on the north side of town. And when people drive into Anamosa, they're going to look at it a little different. So thank you for listening for everything, and all your questions were thoughtful. Thanks.
Thank you.
Aaron, you've done this to me in a couple of civic organizations or seminars we sat in. I'm gonna call you out. Okay. Why don't you come on? No, Darren, excuse me, Aaron. Why don't you come on and give us some information?
I hope you're not sorry for this. No, I learned a lot tonight sitting here listening to the experts here. Bryce has been amazing in the community. I thought a few years ago I live out in that area, as do you. Envisioned that 10 years ago. And I think this is a situation if I will build it will come. I will tell you, I'll share a little bit at the bank. I've got a mortgage lender that Tanji's does a great job for us. We've got 14 applications going right now. We could probably have 20, but there were 6 applications or 6 people that we talked to that were looking around Anamosa, and they ended up going to a different community because we just didn't have what they were looking for. So yeah, you made the comment about an aggressive schedule. Have a few people that are and Bryce certainly is one of those, and he's proven his capabilities. You guys have proven your capabilities here tonight. And I think I'll speak on behalf of all the banks. We're in this too. We will certainly support it. We want to be a part of this. This is a real opportunity for us as well. So that's about all I got to say. Is that good enough? Thank you.
Anyone else? council, so I'm hearing Jeremiah, what he would like to take out of tonight is the consensus of the council. You're behind the program projects. I can understand there's details that you're still looking for some answers or a little bit more solid comments on. But he really does need some direction. And consensus are, how many of you are in favor of advancing with the TIF projects that Bryce has laid out?
Move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with moving forward, but I do want more information. I want kind of pros, cons of the grant or the rebate. And the kind of what the paybacks are gonna be.
I think my meeting is at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, so if you have any other thoughts before that, feel free to get them to me, and then I will try to provide as much information as I get out of that meeting and have something ready.
I'll go back to what Bryce said. Can we break it out in like a timeline?
Yeah, I think Maggie will, I mean, even with the agreements that we kind of discussed, she hammered out some different timelines on a few different possibilities anyways.
Said, right?
So,
He's a lot.
yeah.
Said, right? Yeah. No.
Yeah, she can, again, she just needs parameters set, and if I kind of input those parameters, she'll spit something in for me.
It may be redundant, that comment, but I do think, and Bryce alluded to it too, I do think we need to have specific contingencies as part of it, because other developers may be coming into town, and I don't want to set a precedent where we don't have a specific outline. But I think overall, the idea of moving forward with it, I think it's a great. I think these projects are gonna do a lot for the community, so.
Is there anything else, council? We're not looking for a motion on 4.1 or 4.2.
I don't need a motion tonight, no.
I think we've discussed both 4.1, 4.2, that we can step into 5.0. May see a big exodus of people. I appreciate everyone coming out.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
You don't have to leave.
With that,
Yeah. Is that your phone?
was it Matt's?
Could have been Matt's.
Looks like vast majority of the crowd was here for the 4.0 presentation, so there might not be a lot of discussion yet to come. 5.0 council action items. 5.1 resolution 2026-11 to set the date for the proposed property tax hearing for fiscal year 27.
Move to approve property tax hearing for 5:30 PM on March 23rd, 2026.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Council discussion. Public comment. Kathy, conduct a roll vote, please.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Dave Smith,
Yes.
Shada,
Yes.
Motion to resolution 2026-11 to approve public hearing date carries.
Can I just ask a question? Do you want it at 5:30 or do we need to amend this?
At 5:30.
At
Yes.
5:30? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, this is the one
This
that
is-
has to be separate.
Yes.
Okay.
5.2 resolution 2026-12 to set the date for a public hearing to enter into a 3-year service agreement with Cintas not to exceed $9,240 a year to lease and maintain 7 AED units at city facilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Haley, please.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Kate Smith,
Yes.
Shada,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Motion to approve resolution 2026 setting public hearing carries. 5.3, resolution 2026-13 to set the date for the public hearing to enter into a 5-year service agreement with Axon not to exceed $11,268.80 a year to lease and maintain tasers at the Anamosa Police Department.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Todd, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Haley?
Hurt,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Kate Smith,
Yes.
Shada,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Resolution 2026-13 setting the date public hearing carries. 5.4, resolution 2026-14 set the date for a public hearing to enter into a 5-year service agreement with Telecom Services of Iowa not to exceed $732.77 a year plus one-time fee of $435 to upgrade the phone system at city facilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Dan. Also discussion. Public comment. Haley?
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Shada,
Yes.
Kate Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Motion for resolution 2026-14 setting the public date carries. 5.5, review and approve Lexipool service agreement to purchase policy management software not to exceed $23,630.40 a year with no payment due until fiscal year 27.
Move to approve.
Second.
I got Dan on the motion and Brian on the second. Council discussion? Public comment? Haley?
Weimer,
Yes.
Shada,
Yes.
Kate Smith, Crump,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Motion to approve Lexipool service agreement carries. 5.6, review and approve purchase of 2 replacement vehicles for the Parks and Recreation Department not to exceed $68,492.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion.
If I remember right, we already budgeted for like what, 60,000 something. So
60,000. Yes.
we're just going a little bit above the original budget.
Yes. So the original one sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The original one that we had projected or anticipated was the Ford Mavericks, which were slightly less. At that time, Councilman Gomber had some concerns that maybe we should go with something with a little more towing capacity. After talking about it, we didn't feel that we needed a full-size truck. But Marshall came in and kind of looked at the Ranger and thought that would meet the towing needs, but it is slightly more than the Maverick, so came in just a little bit higher.
Will we get rid of 2 vehicles?
They will probably go to the junkyard. That's about the quality that they're in, unless we can maybe get $1 for them at an auction.
Well, you never know. Somebody may
know.
buy them for the parts.
Yeah,
They might give you $200 for it,
that's true.
for parts. I mean,
Yeah. I think one of them's taped together. I'm not entirely sure. So,
Any other discussion? Public comment?
Tom Durgan, downtown property owner. Park Board member, I just want to thank you guys. In my knowledge, I've never seen the community center Parks Department ever have a brand new vehicle, ever. And these are really needed. The hand-me-downs, like I just said, are shot. And we, like I said, we really appreciate it to get a couple new ones. We had a discussion about taking care of them. And hopefully they will last. And now we have vehicles under warranty that we won't have to pay for repairs unless someone does something stupid. Thank you.
Well, you may be a little premature, Tom. They haven't passed it yet.
Okay, well, thank you anyway.
David, would you conduct a roll vote, please?
Data,
Yes.
Kay Smith,
Yeah,
Crump,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Weimer,
Well, I guess since we got Tom's approval, I'll approve it as well. Yes.
I would like to make sure that they get decaled with Anamosa Parks and Rec on them.
Yes.
Because I think those old ones, some of those did not. Now, be proud of these and do that.
I think you have to by law.
Now,
I think you have to.
okay, because some of those old ones did not have anything on them.
We discovered this 2 years ago, or roughly 2 or 3 years ago. We found out that it is a violation of state law to not have your vehicle decaled.
Okay.
Is that right? Is
It falls under the corruption.
that right, Chief Minnigan? Okay, good.
Accurate.
It's on record.
Well, I'm sure they probably weren't proud of them, so they didn't really want anybody to know what they were, but
It was taped over.
Motion to approve purchase of 2 replacement vehicles carries. 5.7, review and approve purchase of 26 sets of replacement firefighter gear for the Anamosa Fire Department, not to exceed $140,972 plus shipping, to be partially allocated fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27.
second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion.
Dan, will these bring you guys up to? How many more are we gonna be needing to purchase after these?
So,
When will we be able to purchase?
so this will get everyone that's on the roster new gear. Plus, I think it'll allow us to have 2 more people that we're going to vote on to get their gear also.
Perfect.
You said it includes them?
Yes.
Dan, how often do you have to purchase this?
Every 10 years.
But to be fair on that, I mean, part of the reason we're doing this is because the last set they got grant money for. Then you had what, 5?
And we probably had 7 to 10 sets of gear get damaged in a structure fire. So 2 years ago, we applied for a FEMA grant, an AFG grant. So we covered, I think, 5% of the cost of gear 10 years ago, and the federal government covered the rest of it. Part of that, the stipulation and what made us qualify was all of our gear was expiring. Right now, we tried to apply for it. Half our gear isn't expiring right now, so we don't fit the criteria for the AFG grant. Now with getting everything upgraded at once, hopefully the next time around we stay in that AFG grant qualifications. So we try to just grab that grant.
So it's kind of putting us back on cycle.
Just
And is this less than what you originally budgeted for?
So-
Wasn't it like 90,000? You
2.5 years ago, we sat in our budget meeting, we're figuring $70,000 out of this fiscal year, and then 70,000 of the next fiscal year to pay for this. So for 2.5 years ago, sort of put numbers together, we're pretty close to being on par.
just curious, Dan, have you talked to Brenda Leonard about who does the grant applications?
So I have a grant writer named Steve Meyer that's out toward Des Moines that does our AFG grant. So he specializes in AFG grants, and he'll be straight up and honest with you. You're not going to qualify for it, so don't invest your money into it.
Just future reference, maybe check with Brenda, because she finds a lot of money out there through different processes. I'm not being critical, but just another resource.
Correct. And some like Olin and Morley qualify for some more of her grants that Anamosa doesn't qualify for just because we are a bigger department and of the tax base and what's in our budget and everything. So we try to keep our eyes on what grants are out there and we apply for what we can and what we qualify for.
Good.
So.
Thanks, Dan.
What other questions, comments from council? Public comment? Haley?
Dave Smith,
Yeah.
Crump,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Motion to purchase 26 sets of firefighter gear carries. 5.8, review and approve application of Jake Jess to join the Anamosa Fire Department.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Haley?
Crump,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Dave Smith,
Yeah.
Motion to approve Jake Jess carries. 5.9, review and approve application of Wyatt Titler to join the Anamosa Volunteer Fire Department.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Council discussion.
That is to be when he turns 18. Is that correct, Dan?
Correct. So right now, Wyatt Tiller is a senior in high school right now, and he's part of that new fire science program that they started. So we had reached out to the teacher if there's students that are interested in joining the fire department, sort of send them our direction. We interview and see. So we have lowered the age to join the fire department from 19 to 18 within the past couple months. So this will allow him, once he turns 18, I think the 23rd of March, to go ahead and join the fire department. So we're really excited to see a younger kid straight out of high school get on the department.
Good idea.
And just an FYI, when Chief reached out to me, we checked with our insurance just to make sure we could lower that age and it was okay. And they gave us the blessing. So
Okay.
I can't remember how many kids are. Students are in the program.
I think last semester was between 15 and 20, somewhere in there. So, correct.
How many?
So when they get done with that program, they're not at a firefighter one, or are they?
So
Or how's that?
they are not trained to the level firefighter one due to state regulations. Them taking the class doesn't give them the state certification or the state training. They
Okay.
have to be 18 and part of a fire department.
Okay.
If this is enough to whet their appetite to say, hey, this is something I want to pursue, I'm interested into it.
Gives them a leg up on the process.
Correct.
Okay.
How many volunteer firemen will this, or fire persons, will this bring us to one Wyatt?
This will bring us to 27 on the roster.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other things for council? Public comment? Haley?
Dave Smith,
Yeah.
Taylor,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to appoint Wyatt Tiller to the Anamosa Fire Department upon his 18th birthday carries. 5.10, review and approve professional service agreement with HR Green for the wastewater treatment plant NPDES capacity re-rate.
Okay, that's the building superintendent. What this is every 2 years when we get our sanitary survey, we get marked up for exceeding influent design capacity. So as Haley, she's here from HR Green, has found out for some reason when the plant was originally designed by Aeromod, it was at certain levels, but when it was approved and put online, those levels were dropped. And that's what we're trying to rectify, so we quit getting the influent violations. Anything else you'd like to add to that, Haley?
I actually do have some questions. We really can't control the influence side. So how are you combating that just by changing plans?
We're gonna change the limits because we've never exceeded on the effluent side. What's going to the river is always,
Yeah, you always meet your limits on the upland side, but what if
Right.
on the effluent side to control it?
So the manufacturer of the package plan, Aeromod, actually confirmed that the plant was designed for higher influent loadings. So we're just simply going through the process to get the DNR to recognize that and update the capacity in the permit itself.
The one thing I did see on your degradation study, there's a couple things to think about. We haven't had a wet year for 4 years, right? And the other thing is we do have a floating view to take into account too now, which will change the parameters of the plan. I just want to bring that to your attention.
Yep, so we'll be looking at the last 5 years of MOR data, and I know that doesn't include anything with the equalization tank. But the loads shouldn't change, even though, because it's your peak flow diluted loads are going to be going to the EQ tank. So I don't think that's going to have a huge effect on this.
I just wanted to bring that up to you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
I'll move to approve the professional services agreement with HR Green for the wastewater treatment plan NPDES capacity re-rate.
Second.
Motion by Todd, second by Rich. Council discussion? Public comment? Haley?
Jada,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Kate Smith,
Motion to approve professional service agreement with HR Green carries. 5.11, review and approve agreement for maintenance and repair of primary roads in municipalities with the Iowa DOT from July 2026 through June 2031.
This is the 5-year agreement.
This is a 5-year agreement. So when I got this, as I noted to the council, we were not able to find an agreement that predated this 5 years, so I'm assuming that it's routine. As we were looking through it, we didn't see anything that's particularly stood out as being out of the ordinary or alarming. So again, they kind of sent it to us as if we should know what it was, and just due to the tenure in our office, we did not. So I can ask more questions if the council would like, but it did seem fairly routine.
I know you said in your memo to us that, well, I presume from your memo, we haven't run this past our city attorney, right?
That's correct. We did not.
And it just the 151.
Primarily, yes, but it goes through here as far as the freeways, primary highways, any rural or crossing areas which might be governed by the DOT that could perhaps go through town. I guess again, in practice, in just reading through it, it looked like it was correctly aligned with what we thought we were responsible for versus the DOT. Yeah, that's about all the information I have. I can send this to our attorneys before sending this back if we'd like. Again, nothing just particularly stood out, so we decided to just put it for council approval.
Rich, have you seen anything like this in your time?
I honestly don't ever remember seeing this, but if I had to guess, probably 5 years ago, that would have been short of coming out of COVID. And who knows what may or may not have been happening, because shortly in 2021, I think, is when Jacob left. So there might have been a little turnover going on there, and who knows what may have happened.
For one. So if we sign an agreement, then when we change 151 to make it narrow for the school, it's not going to be an issue.
64.
Oh, it should be, yeah.
Yeah, should not. HR Green has been communicating and or working with the DOT with the project anyways, so I'm almost certain that they have some understanding of what we're doing and are signing off on those as the project goes.
One of the things that I see that under the section 1, what the department shall maintain and repair under this section D, number 5 pops out at me. We've got a bridge over by community center that's gonna have to be fixed fairly soon. Is that right? This says that the department shall maintain and repair. Have we factored that in on that project? And I guess not to give attorneys more money, but I guess I would want to know if that. I'd like our city attorney to maybe take a look at that and just sign off on the general agreement.
I can do that.
Because it is that. Because as I understand it, we're gonna be having to do something with that bridge soon, and if we can. Have assistance with the financial aspect of that from the state, that could make some future decisions. That could impact some future decisions.
Yeah, I'm thinking this agreement's not going to cover that bridge, but
I
you never know.
don't disagree with you, but I'd rather find out ahead
Yeah,
that. I
Thought it was just state highways going through.
What are considered primary roads?
I'm guessing it falls in accordance with these sections listed in the state code at the beginning of the agreement. It says in provisions with sections and then outlines all these sections, but I would have to look to be certain.
I guess it does talk about city streets crossing freeway rights of way, but we also have the bridge coming into town right by Wapsie that, depending on what happens with the military bridge, all that, there's going to be some cost to the city there too. So
Yeah, and my guess is the bridge is in here just because of, the DOT does have some authority over bridge inspections and whatnot, regardless of where they're located.
well, and you do have the bridge over 64, the overpass, which they may consider a bridge.
Sure.
Well,
I can bring it back.
I'm going to make a motion to approve this with the provision that Patrick signs off on it, our city attorney signs off.
second.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Further discussion? Public comment? Haley?
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Kate Smith, Shada,
Yes.
Motion to approve agreement for maintenance and repair carries. 5.12, review and approve ArcGIS annual subscription renewal from ESRI in the amount of $2,625.
Move to approve.
second.
Motion by Dan, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Haley?
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Kate Smith, Shada,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Motion to approve annual subscription renewal carries. 5.13, review and approve consent agenda pay request totaling $4,249.25. There are four items listed. I will read all four, after which council can make a motion that includes the word consent, which will bring all four up for a discussion in a single vote. Or council can make a motion on any of the items. Item A from Snyder in the amount of $1,938.25 for the Flow EQ Basin project. Item B from HR Green in the amount of $385 for municipal engineering services. Item C from HR Green in the amount of $1,350 for the Third Street Sidewalk Extension Project. Item D from HR Green in the amount of $576 for the Planning and Zoning GIS services.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Brian. Council discussion. Public comment. Haley, please.
Hurt,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Dave Smith,
Yes.
Shada,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Consent motion to pay request carries. 6.0 is city administrators report.
I don't have anything this evening.
7.0 mayor and council report. 7.1 mayor's report. I also don't have anything further this evening. 7.2 council reports.
I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Robert back.
Happy birthday to Caroline.
I was just looking up an email from Brenda Leonard about the new EMA or the communications building, the EMA building out in the industrial park. The new building should be completed by the middle of April, and they've got a lot of the equipment or items that they're going to utilize at that facility already ready, already ordered and on standby. And they have the hot sea, I think that's their car wash or their hot water system to do washes of all the equipment out there, but I suspect there will be some sort of a invitation for anybody that wants to come out and take a tour of the building sometime probably in May or shortly thereafter.
I was not able to attend the park board meeting. I was out of town with my mother. But I have the minutes, Marshall forwarded me. He talked about the marquee sign. They thought, and correct me guys if I'm wrong. First they thought it was going to be only 5 slides, but I guess it's unlimited now. At the father-daughter dance, they had 226 attendees, and they're looking to maybe expand in the Rotary Room next year. And there's an Easter egg hunt. I don't have where that's at.
Football field.
Football field.
And you can take eggs or money or candy.
Yeah, right. And March 28th. They're getting 2 new vehicles. And they're offering new programs, photography classes. And let's see, that would be about it. Is there anything else, you guys? That's all I got.
Thanks for those reports. Anyone else? 8.0 public comment for items not on the agenda. You haven't spoken it up, you gotta come back up.
It's time to hurry. And this is on the agenda. I just want to say I was so excited that LCC and the community center was going to, or park was going to get new trucks. I got ahead of myself. So I just caught Rich making the motion. I was like, yes, done deal. So once again, thanks a lot. I'm done.
9.0 adjournment. Meeting. There, the next one.